In this video I'm going to tell you all about how I managed to buy half a ton of filament from China. Yes, 500 kilograms. I got 250 kilograms of PLA shipped by sea and 250 kilograms of PETG-CF delivered by train. I break down exactly how much I saved by ordering in such large quantities, how long each shipment took to arrive, and most importantly, how you can use this strategy to boost your profitability. If you're new here, I'm Jan and I run a 3D print farm in Switzerland. I design and sell products on Etsy and Shopify, and what started as a side hustle eventually allowed me to quit my job as a senior engineer to follow my passion full time. But now, let's dive into the details of this massive filament order and how you can use the same approach to grow your business. These parts right here are one of our best sellers. A pair of hooks that let you mount children's bikes onto a bicycle trailer. We print these using PETG-CF and sell them for around $30. Now, after accounting for Etsy fees, electricity, fulfillment, packaging and material costs, we make about $8 in profit per sale. In the beginning we bought filament from Bamboo Lab, which costs around $38 per kilogram. One of these hooks uses around 140 grams of filament, but when we factor in a 5% failure rate, it rounds up to around 150 grams per set. That puts material costs at $5.70, which is pretty significant. But here's the interesting part. If we can lower our filament costs to around $25 per kilogram, that would shave $2 off the material cost, increasing our profits by 25% from $8 to $10 per sale. If your margins are even tighter than ours, then your material cost might be even a bigger factor. We used to buy filament from a local supplier, and when we ordered 50 kilograms or more, we would get a 10% discount. This is thanks to something called economies of scale. The idea that higher quantities reduce costs. Suppliers save on packaging, shipping and administrative overhead when they deal with larger orders, so they pass part of these savings on to us. But here's the catch, every middleman still takes their cut, which ultimately raises the price of the filament. So how do we cut out the middleman and get bigger quantities straight from the manufacturer? The answer is China. Most filaments are produced there, and the gateway to these manufacturers is the platform Alibaba. That's exactly where we went to source our half a ton of filament. After setting up a business account and finding manufacturers like Polymaker and DoWell, the real challenge became figuring out how to get all that filament shipped directly to our farm. There are three ways to ship filament from China: by air, by train and by sea. Air is obviously the fastest, while shipping by sea is the slowest. But when it comes to cost, the trend is reversed. Air shipping is the most expensive and the sea freight is the cheapest. For example, air delivery from China to Switzerland takes around 4 to 8 business days, but it can often cost more than the filament itself, which isn't sustainable. In the past, the only real option was shipping by sea, which we did with our Polymaker PLA. We placed the order in March and didn't receive it until July, 4 months later. So what's the alternative? Enter the train. The new transportation method follows the route of the New Silk Road, and we use it for our PETG-CF. It arrived in less than 1 month, offering a great balance between cost and delivery time. Before we dive into the complete cost breakdown, let's take a moment to talk about emissions from each of these shipping methods. I was quite surprised by the results, and I think you will be too. The emissions data is based on shipping of 250 kilograms of filament. First off, it's obvious that air delivery is extremely polluting and should be avoided whenever possible. But when we compare cargo ships and trains, I expected a train to have much lower CO2 emissions. Surprisingly, cargo ships are more efficient than expected, even though they travel almost twice the distance. However, there's a big caveat here. Cargo ships may produce less CO2, but they emit significantly more nitrogen oxide and sulfur oxide, which have a major environmental impact. So, which is better overall? It depends on factors like electrification of trains and the adoption of cleaner fuels for ships in the future. For now, the takeaway is clear: avoid air shipping whenever you can. Now on to the big question. How much did we actually save per kilogram of filament for PLA and PETG-CF? Let's break it down. First, let's look at the cost of the filament itself. Polymaker PLA and DoWell PETG-CF are similar in price, around $9.50 per kilogram. Both are high quality filaments and performed very well in our internal tests. But I'm sure we are paying for the branding and marketing of Polymaker there. In terms of shipping, sea freight was the most cost-effective option. After adding in customs and administrative costs, we paid $1,600 to ship 250 kilograms of PLA and $1,850 for 250 kilograms of PETG-CF. When we add it all up, that comes to $1,585 per kilogram of PLA and $1,699 per kilogram of PETG-CF. This is a huge reduction compared to buying from a local supplier, even after accounting for the 10% discount. As for PETG, it's not a perfect comparison because we're using a different brand, but it still shows the potential savings of bulk ordering. One more thing, when you order this much filament, you need to think about storage costs as well. For us, we store it in our basement and that adds around 20 cents per kilogram. But even with storage costs included, we're still well below what we would pay locally. So the real question is, at what point could you do this for your own 3D print farm? Based on my discussions with the manufacturers, the minimum order quantity to get these kind of prices is 100 to 150 kilograms. And if you order over 250, you can unlock even better rates. But now, back to our part. After redoing the calculations with the bulk filament, we've managed to drop the material cost from 570 to 255. This boosts our profits by an impressive 39%, bringing it up to 11.15 per sale instead of 8. So what's next? We now have two options. We can either lower the price to increase sales volume or keep the price and enjoy higher profits. Since we want to leverage economy of scale theory, we will focus on increasing sales. This will allow us to order even more filament at lower cost next time, further boosting profitability. If you found this video helpful and want to learn how to increase your sales, make sure to check out my video on how I got 100 sales in just 1 month after opening a new Etsy store. Until next time, happy printing, 3D farmers!